we had decided that we were going to be a remote company before then. So we had started hiring people outside of Austin, which was the headquarters of Digital Marketer. And what we saw that was a big, big, big problem is the people who were in office got all the opportunity. The people that were in office, we would hold impromptu meetings that the people who weren't, they weren't in the loop on.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. Ryan, welcome to the podcast also. How you doing?
Good, solid start. Really solid
Yeah.
start today.
I thought
we
so.
are just on point.
Nice. We were just talking about your relationship with the sun.
Oh my gosh, yeah. For anybody who watches this one on YouTube, my face basically looks like a cherry right now. I spent the weekend. My wife and I went to a country music festival, which, if you know anything about me, like I don't love strangers.
But you
Like
love your country music.
And I'm not even that big of a country music fan. Like, it's great, it's fine. But my wife is a huge fan of like 90s country music. And this play, it was like Dina Carter, it was Martina McBride, Clint Black. I mean, it was like, it was the soundtrack of her youth. And so when this came up, she's like, we're going to this thing. I don't care if you hate it. I'm doing this. I'm going to love it, and that's good enough for me, which I respect.
Yeah.
I had a great time. I really did. It rained like crap on a Saturday, just rained the whole time, but she made sure we were like ponchoed out.
But somehow there was sun.
Yeah, well, so that was Saturday. Then Sunday, the sun came out. But because, I don't know, it's like I still had rain on the brain. I just was like, sunblock is for amateurs, which was a huge mistake. So yes, just to give you the picture, my forehead hasn't seen sun all year. So it is like beet red. The lower half of my face is kind of okay, but around my eyes, totally pale because I was wearing sunglasses. I look ridiculous, but that's okay.
I like it. It's kind of like you're a big Tesla fan because you've got like a T kind of going like, across there. That's what I tell people. I'm just all about Tesla, man. All about Tesla. Bought the stock when it was low. Yeah, what can I say?
Yeah, like real fan, like pseudo fans will do like a tattoo. I do skin burn. I'm doing skin cancer for Tesla.
I love it. Well, all of that aside, you had a couple things you wanted to chat about. You wanna share some of those with us, and we'll head on into it.
So I thought this was really an interesting story. The Dell came out recently, and this was an article in, I don't know, we dropped it in the show notes, but they basically came out and they announced that starting in May, they're done with work from home. The work from home era at Dell is officially over. And we're seeing this with, a number of
right? Lots of people.
Yeah, lots of them are saying go back, but they're like, that's it. Starting in May, those who are fully remote, and I thought this was interesting. They're not saying you're fired. They're not saying you have to come back. They're saying those who are fully remote will not be eligible for promotion.
Okay.
And I thought that was an interesting take. If you're willing to come in and do some kind of a hybrid schedule, that's fine. But if you're unwilling, if you moved away, far, far, far away, you either got to move back and start coming in sometime or hang around. We're just not going to promote you. You're kind of stuck where you are. What do you think about that?
I initially don't hate it. It's interesting. Like if you want to work as a side hustle or as a remote person, and we totally get that. We support that. We realize that we need that, and it's a function that we'll have. But we really want our management to be here so they can participate more actively in the meetings. I think that's cool. I was talking to so I think that's interesting. I don't think it's probably good or bad. I guess it would potentially stop a brilliant remote manager from being able to have an opportunity to get promoted. But my guess is there would be exceptions for those kinds of people anyway. Who was it? I was just talking to, the Robin at Go High Level. I was just talking to, they've got 1,000 employees plus 100% remote. And he said that they got I think they have a building now in Atlanta just because he's like, people wanted to know that the company actually, their paychecks came from a building. It's like, but no, we have it, but nobody's there. So to me, it clearly works either way, and it's just a choice. And so they're kind of saying, let's try this for a while and see what happens. And we want our managers to be more inculcated in the culture of the company, and that does definitely not happen as well, when you're outside. But when I was talking with Robin about how they did it, he said, "Man, we're at work every day, just like a building. We all come into Zoom, and we all go into the rooms that would be the rooms that we would be in, and we're there the whole day. We're on Zoom, 8 hours a day plus, and so we don't find it to be that different." I do think that, like, the ability to connect, even when you and I are talking like this versus when we get to hang out, it's definitely different, and I think that you do get more out of being together. But the trade off, and then I'll shut up, because I really do, I guess to me either one works,
Yeah.
because the trade off of having a really good person that can't relocate because of family or other issues or challenges or desires, and to not have the ability to access that person and also penalize them by not promoting them, if that would be good for the company, seems kind of silly and arbitrary. As a guideline, I think it's cool. As an absolute rule, I think it's silly. What do you think?
So I've seen it's obvious that in office works. And it's obvious there are plenty of examples of purely remote companies that work, right? So I think kind of both extremes work. What I haven't really seen work effectively is,
I agree.
hey, team members, you decide what work environment is best for you. And I
Yeah.
think that's because it's optimizing for the individual, and the best business is optimized for the team.
Right.
And it's so, like, this was something that was not very, very popular to say, but now I think everybody's realizing that, one, it's true, right? When it's very easy to say, oh no, we want everybody to, like, find find your best work truth and, like, live your best life and do all this stuff, when everything's up and to the right and the government's printing free money, right?
Yeah.
Then yeah, you go do that. I find it interesting that this follows a significant reduction in force that they did back in February of 2023. So a lot of these changes in work from home policy, I think, are basically a way to just get people to quit without having to lay them off. Because when you say to somebody, you can keep working from home, you can keep working remotely, you don't have to come back in, you'll just never get another promotion here ever again for as long as you live. What's the
Right,
first
but
thing they're going to
promotion
do?
versus raise, like that is a significant difference, right? It's
And it
you're
was
not going to go.
promotion. Yeah. They could presumably still get a raise within the same salary
Yeah.
band as dictated by their role. But
Yeah.
I would think if you find out that you basically have no more upward mobility at this company, it's a dead end, you're going to start looking for another job. And I think that's exactly what they want some folks to do. And to your point, I wouldn't be surprised if they reached out to certain people who really move the needle. And they're like, hey, we're going to make an exception for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're going to make sure this doesn't apply to you. But I think the bigger thing is, um, optimize for the team, not the individual. Like, that's what a company has to do. And so if you're good at remote, if you've learned that, like what we've had to do, like, I feel like now at this point we're not great, but I feel like we've gotten a lot better at remote, so we can make remote work. And
Yeah.
we have had businesses in the past that where everybody was under one roof, and that worked. What doesn't work is, hey, individuals, do your own thing. I don't see that working anywhere. I don't know of a lot of examples of where that's worked, because you just have to figure out, how are we as a team going to work? And if
Yeah.
some people are in the office, some people aren't, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. What is DM doing?
DM is now is fully remote, and digital marketer is fully remote. But in the past, we actually had a similar policy. So we were all under one roof prior to COVID. Digital marketer was under one roof. Everybody came into a building, and that was where all of the work happened. And we did have some remote people. There were some people that we hired, and then there were some people who left, and we wanted to keep them. And so we said, that's fine, you can work remotely. But the conversation that we had with all of them was, this is almost certainly going to limit your ability to ascend within this company. So if you're okay staying within this same role, and we said the same thing, you can still get raises along the way, for this role, but you're unlikely to be able to ascend in any kind of managerial or leadership type role, because it's
And what
just
happened?
there were people who stayed, and they stayed in that role. And then there were some people who stayed for a bit until they found another job. And the reason they were like, yeah, I wanted to go to a place where I could ascend. And it
Did
was fine
anybody
because it was
come back?
transparent. We had one, no, nobody who left then came back. we've had people who have left for different reasons return, but
Right.
nobody who left because they went remote, um, didn't. And also at this point now we're fully remote. Like we've had people who left.
And I'm sorry. I mean, did when you said that, did anybody say, "Oh yeah, no worries, I'm going to come in"?
No, no,
Okay.
we had pretty much everybody because it was understood and I think that's what's clear. What's your default? Are you default in office or are you default remote?
Right.
I think if you know your default and you say this is how we work as a team, I think you can make exceptions as a mature organization. You don't have to be dogmatic about this stuff. You just have to acknowledge that as an exception, it's going to be harder for you're going to have to be so much better than everybody else.